Welcome to Death Ranks, a place where deaths in horror movies get to show off and also get ranked. Today I'll be ranking the deaths in one of my personal favorite horror movies of all time and one of the most influential horror movies ever made, which is Halloween 1978. There are other slasher movies that predate the original Halloween. However, Halloween 1978 is the reason the slasher subgenre took off in the 80s. Also, even though there were horror movies before it that portrayed what we now call final girls, Halloween was the movie that really popularized the final girl trope. There's also no denying that Halloween laid out the blueprint for franchises like Friday the 13th, Scream, and A Nightmare on Elm Street. But enough wasting time, we've got some deaths to get to, so let's head on over to Haddonfield and get to it. After the iconic pumpkin credit opening to the classic Halloween score, and yes, of course, if you look closely at the carved pumpkin, it does kind of look like Myers holding a knife, but I really don't think it's that obvious. But okay, sure, Myers is in the pumpkin, all right? The movie starts out Halloween 1963 in the fictional town of Haddonfield, Illinois. There's no need to fast forward to get to the first death because we get it right here in the opening. Here, we find ourselves in the POV of someone outside of a home on this spooky Halloween night. Inside the house, we see two people making out and can hear a girl named Judith Myers say that her parents won't be home until 10 o'clock. Are they alone though?
We are alone, aren't we?
Michael's around someplace.
And no better way to get a piece of ass than teasing your girl with a clown mask. But enough goofing, the two then head upstairs. The POV continues as we see a hand grab a knife from the kitchen. The 14 seconds has reached its climax upstairs and the young fella leaves, somehow not seeing the person watching him. This person puts on the clown mask and heads towards Judith. From the eye holes of the mask, we see Judith brushing her hair, then startled by young Michael Myers, her 6-year-old little brother. Michael sees the unmade bed and is like, "Premarital sex? How dare you?" The movie wastes no time getting to its first death as we see Michael stab his sister Judith Myers at least 9 times with a butcher knife. This is the first death of the movie and the first death in the Halloween franchise, only 6 minutes in. This scene's kind of an interesting one for me because on one hand, I do think it's kind of silly how Michael looks up at his own knife while he's stabbing his sister, but on the other hand, I do think that shot makes this scene scarier. Still in his POV, we follow him outside of the house where he's greeted by his parents arriving home. Papa Myers unmasks Myers as the parents realize Michael's done something horrible. Mom, though, kind of just looks disappointed. She doesn't really look all that horrified, to be honest. We then transport to Smith's Grove Sanitarium, October 30th, 1978, where Myers escapes from the sanitarium, steals a car, and then drives off into the night. To get to death number 2, we need to fast forward to Halloween Day and about 19 minutes into the movie. Oh, and by the way, I just want to say really quick, if you're enjoying this video so far, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. But anyways, I will go ahead and shut up now and we'll get back to the video. After Michael stalks Laurie a few times, bumps into a kid, steals his mask, a rope, and a knife from Nichols' hardware store, we then get to death number 2, 73 miles outside Haddonfield, where Dr. Loomis discovers Michael's hospital gown and a dead mechanic taking a long nap here in the weeds. I don't know how this guy died or if Dr. Loomis even saw the body, but anyways, it's death number 2. We're gonna have to fast forward a bit to get to death number 3, which happens 35 minutes later. After the hedge scene, the laundry shot, and Laurie smoking a joint, I think a lot of people forget that Laurie was probably a little bit high during a big chunk of this movie. Yeah, she probably sobered up though by the time shit really went down later. Annie Brackett's our next victim later that night. Annie dumps her babysitting duties onto Laurie and gets in her car to go pick up her man Paul. But inside, the car's already a little foggy. That's weird. Michael then strangles Annie and slits her throat with the knife he stole from the hardware store. We then fast forward to Laurie's friend Lynda hanging out with Bob. Yep, this is the famous Bob kill. Lynda and Bob do their thing over at Annie's house. Whoa, pumpkin, you pervert, at least look away, Jesus. By the way, do you guys light pumpkins next to your bed to put you and your partner in the mood? Well, anyways, after enjoying that post-sex cigarette, Bob heads downstairs to get them both a beer. Downstairs, Bob thinks someone's pranking him, but sadly, he's wrong. Michael pops out, strangles Bob, lifts him up with one hand, then skewers him to the wall in one of the most iconic kills in the franchise, an hour and 6 minutes in. Michael then admires his work with a couple of the famous head tilts. Chef's kiss. Lynda's up next to give us the final death of the movie, but first, all this killing's got Michael in the Halloween spirit. As Michael dresses up as Bedsheet Bob, Lynda's got a question for him.
See anything you like?
But Michael plays hard to get, which Lynda doesn't like, so she calls Laurie to find out where Paul and Annie are. Over the phone, Laurie just thinks she's overhearing a little action.
All right, Annie. First I get your famous chewing, now I get your famous squealing.
The only action happening here is probably the one that turns Michael on as he strangles Lynda with the phone cord while Laurie listens. Maybe this movie's the reason we all went wireless. Then after one of the scariest shots in the movie, Laurie stabbing Michael with a knitting needle and a knife, then the famous sit-up, we of course can't forget that Michael almost gets counted as the 6th death in the movie. However, Mikey then shows that he may have a supernatural element to him when Loomis goes to check on his body after shooting him 6 times. The movie then officially ends to the sound of Michael's breathing over shots of key areas from the movie. So those are the deaths in Halloween 1978, and now it's time to rank every single one. In last place at number 5 is the mechanic. I mean, it's cool that he gave us the iconic Myers outfit, but of course you don't see the kill, and if we had to guess, just looks like he got stabbed in the stomach or something. It's one of those aftermath kills, you don't see anything, which happens a ton in the genre, but at least in movies like Halloween 2 and stuff, you're like, holy shit, that guy just got a syringe in the eye. That's pretty brutal. In this one, it's just like, oh, maybe he died choking on a hot dog and spilled a little ketchup on his shirt? I don't know. Coming in at number 4 is Lynda's death. This one gives a lot of people their favorite image from this first Halloween movie. It's Myers' ghost costume with Bob's glasses, which is iconic. But these kind of strangulations that we get in the first Halloween have a very kind of primal feel to them. A way more intimate type of a kill than just shooting someone with a gun or something like that. It's also funny how Laurie thought she was accidentally listening to them having sex. Coming in at number 3 is Annie's death. In this movie, we get to know Annie and her dad a little bit, so this death is kind of a sad one for sure. I also think this is probably the scariest death in the movie. You know that he's in the car, but it's still creepy how there's no music at all. Then boom, the music starts. I also really like the shot of Michael's emotionless face that you can see through the foggy driver's side window. I think that's really, really cool. Michael's breathing also is really damn creepy. He might just be breathing hard during the entire struggle, but he almost sounds like he's kind of excited in a way, like a sexual way. And coming in at the number 2 spot is Bob's death. To me, I don't think it's the scariest death, but it's just a damn cool kill, and there's a reason they replicate it more later in the franchise. This death introduced the head tilt, and there's just so much to that head tilt if you really want to get sweaty and nerdy about it. It kind of peels back this layer about Myers' childlike fascination with how he's almost proud of himself when he's able to kill someone like this. Like, damn, did I really just stick that knife through him enough to hold him up? Cool. And coming in at the number 1 spot as my favorite death in the original Halloween from 1978 has got to be the first death of the movie when Michael kills his sister Judith. It's not only the first kill of the franchise, but it's also the first Myers human kill that we know of. I mean, Myers probably killed animals and stuff as a kid if I were to kind of speculate, but just how many times he stabs her is brutal to watch, how he stalks her and her boyfriend before this kill. I'm also a parent, so this part really hits home when the parents, come home and to see that he's done something horrible. It's kind of just a crazy scene. It's just a wild way to open up the franchise and really sets the tone for everything that we'll see for the next 40 plus years. But that's not it. The award for bonehead death of the movie goes to Annie, I guess, for just being a shitty friend. But there you go, that is every death ranked in the original Halloween. And like a lot of 70s horror and early Carpenter work as well, this movie's really not that gory, but the horror in this movie comes from just how creepy it is and how atmospheric it is. I just love it so much. Don't forget to subscribe and also tell a friend about the channel as well. Go and check out one of these other videos next to me if you want to see more content. But anyways, my name's Matt McFarland, and you just finished watching Death Ranks.